Welcome to Rotary Matters on 92.7 Arrow FM and Wairarapa TV. I'm Marilyn Donna, and over the next hour I will be telling you a little bit about what's up to date on some of the activities of my Rotary Club, Masterton South. My club was one of 5 in the Wairarapa, and we're part of District 9940, which extends from Wellington right up to Taranaki. Now, the Rotary year, in case you don't realise, goes from June to June. So all the clubs have just had what they called a changeover when a new president is inducted, is the word. So the Rotary that I am delighted to have today is our new president, John Murray, and he's here to talk about his plans for the coming year. And also today we have another member of the Marston Rotary Club, the Marston South Rotary Club, Robert Young, who's just received a very prestigious Rotary Award for his long time involvement with an intermediate reading program. So welcome to you, both you guys, and it's lovely to have you here, John and Robert.
Nice to be here, Marilyn.
So I thought perhaps first of all that we would start with John, who last week you received your badge, but unfortunately because of COVID we couldn't sort of do all the other shenanigans that we normally do at our Rotary Club when a president is changed. So first of all, congratulations on being president. Mm-hmm. And tell us a little bit about yourself, John. What's what made you into a president? How many years have you been in Rotary?
Thanks, Marilyn. I joined Rotary. It was one of our members, David Baker, who sidled up beside me one day. In fact, I think we were probably in a car, and he said, what do you do in your spare time and for the community? And I thought, probably don't do very much, really. So he said, would you like to join Rotary? So I thought about it, but I knew nothing whatsoever about Rotary, and this is back in 2009, I think it was.
Oh, yes, yeah.
So anyway, he invited me to one or two dinners, and I thought, I know quite a few of these people, and I like the atmosphere, and I think behind it all, I would like to be able to give back to our community. We've got a wonderful community here in the Wairarapa, and particularly in Masterton, and I think Jude and I are reasonably fortunate in where we are, and it's nice to be able to give back and be part of the community. So that's when I joined back in 2009.
And you've been a director since then, haven't you, of different committees?
Yes, my first role was as a secretary, which was a wee bit of a deep end experience, because relatively speaking I didn't know much about Rotary, but it was a reasonably steep learning curve. So I served 1 or 2 years, 2 years I think it was, as secretary, and then I was promoted, I suppose, to Director of Club Services, which is the committee that runs the...
And you didn't realise at that stage that if you were promoted to being a director, you might finally end up as the president?
Well, I had it in the back of my mind, but didn't really want to accept that was definitely the case until Rob Irwin tapped me on the shoulder and asked me to step up to president, and that was the beginning of last year.
So Rob was the president. He's been the president up till now, hasn't he?
I've just taken over from Rob Irwin, who's done a very good job over the last 12 months. Yeah, so as you say, Marston South has a bit of a reputation for inducting new presidents in a fairly hilarious way often.
Well, you'll have that.
And you're responsible for a lot of that.
Some years, and you'll have that to look forward to at the end of July, isn't it? We're going to hopefully that we're not back into any COVID lockdowns. So, what do you think you might be looking towards as far as the structure of Rotary? Are you going to change anything? I mean, at the moment we have had 5 committees, because we had the new committee of Comms IT, but we've sort of going to change that a little bit now, aren't we?
Yeah, mostly when you look at Marsden South, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know, it's got a fair old bit of momentum, and there's some really good experienced members of the club who do good work year after year. So I don't think there's any need for any radical change. There's a little bit of change of emphasis here and there, and one of the things we are going to change, as you alluded to, is the fact that, Rob Irwin introduced this idea of a communication and IT section of the club, which is basically just following the times. You know, we're becoming much more digital, and with more Facebook and so on. So Rob established a separate committee for Comms IT, but the members had to be on one or the other of those. No, in fact, they were on both in many cases, so they didn't know which one to go with. So what I'm planning to do this year is to have people, or yourself and club services, and the others will definitely be in one of the other 3 committees, so they'll know where they stand when we have firesides, and you'll, I presume, led by yourself, will operate
something to keep the Marsden public aware of what we're doing.
That's essentially what it is, yes. And I think we've done a better job. And
yes, I think so. It was just that probably it was a little bit unwieldy, and it's better just to be a smaller ad hoc group. Yeah.
So that's pretty much.
And you talked about firesides for the sake of people who might know what a fireside is. Well, Robert might know more about that. Robert, how long have you been in Rotary now?
Since 2000, Marilyn.
Since 2000.
Yes.
So perhaps welcome anyway, Robert. Nice to have you with us. So, Robert, what exactly, why is it called a fireside? I never quite knew that when I came in either.
Well, I think initially people hosted committee meetings around the fireside. It was a fireside meeting, and it was always accompanied by sometimes elaborate tea and scones and everything. Right after we've actually had a 2-course meal at the club, and so that aspect of it has been knocked on the head, but nevertheless, it's still a meeting in somebody's home.
Yes.
And if it's not around the fireside, it's certainly around the kitchen table or something like that.
Yeah, no, that's good. Yes. So, so the committee. What committees will there be with you?
So we'll go back to having 4 committees. So there's club services, which, as I say, runs the club activities and manages the club. And then there's the community committee, of which Robert is the director. And we have another committee called International, which is going to be run this year by Dick Davison. He's a new director, and he's very capable, and he's agreed to step up.
And unfortunately, of course, International's had a bit of a slow period over the last year because haven't been able to do too much internationally.
Yeah, although there are still things that we can do in International, such as emergency response kits, ERCs. You know, we can help fundraise for those, and storms and typhoons and so on don't stop because of COVID. So, and then the 4th committee is youth and vocational, and that's being directed by Alison Seater.
And that's quite involved with the young people and scholarships and things like that, isn't it?
Yeah. No, I think we do some really good stuff there. RIDER, we use these acronyms. So Rotary Youth Drive Awareness. And we run that every year for young people in the sort of around the 17, 18 or 16, 17, 18 group, to give them some exposure to defensive driving and so on.
And Freya Kerr, who has been our sort of stalwart of that, has just received a special award for that, hasn't she?
Yes. Yeah, well, Freya was very instrumental in running it for our District 9940. And, as you say, she was recently presented with a Paul Harris Fellow Sapphire Bar, which basically she's had one before, so this is another one. She's done some great work.
So with those committees, have you got ideas of where you want your focus to be this year? Or?
I've got a few of my own ideas, but like I say, I'm conscious that I don't want to
rock the boat
too much, and you put directors in charge of these committees, and really, as much as anything else, it's their ideas which we'd like to encourage, and perhaps I'd be a sounding board, and so at the firesides next week. All the directors are going to sort of think about what they'd like to achieve for the next 12 months, and perhaps put something in writing, and then we can sort of move towards that. But we need some direction, but reasonably light-handed.
Because we have ongoing projects, don't we? I mean, like the mini golf and the Rotary Sunday Market. Yeah.
Yes, well, those are a couple of our sort of bigger fundraising ventures that we're involved with, that the community will be quite familiar with. And a lot of people use mini putt. They had obviously a lot of people stayed home and did activities at home. So I think we had a record year of people using mini putt in Masterton, which was really good. And with the Sunday market, which we used to call car boot, we call it Sunday market now, because we had to shift out of the car park down at the RSA, we've moved in recent months up to the Farriers car park, and people will have seen that they're operating on Sunday morning. And that's been very successful. There's been more stall holders and more public.
And do you think that will continue up there, or we just wait and see what happens with the car park?
We're in a wait and see pattern, really. We need to wait until the car park at RSA is completed, and then we can go back and assess how it would be set up there, and make a decision at that point. But I think it's a wee bit early at this stage to make a decision.
And of course we've got Food Bank too, and Robert, you've been involved with Food Bank quite a bit, haven't you?
Yes, I have, Marilyn, but only to pick up and delivery and that sort of aspect. Certainly been involved along those lines rather than in the organisation of. But I think last year was the first time that I didn't get involved, and there was I just forget there was a good reason for that. But normally it's a couple of hours of driving around and collecting food.
It's very well worth while, isn't it? True. So there are three of the ongoing ones that we have every year, and there's always something else coming up, isn't there?
Rob Cameron is the main organiser of Food Bank this year, and he's got a bit of a team with him. And we're really grateful for the generosity of people in Masterton, and it's quite incredible the amount of solid food we get for people, but the need is extremely high, so it goes to a good cause.
Yeah. So, and also of course we've got the Millennium Reserve, which is quite a sort of a forgotten part of Masterton, isn't it? That people don't always know that it's there.
No, well, they tend to drive past the Millennium Reserve and see a bit of scrubby area on the western side of the road going past the road to MIS, and used to be a trout hatchery in there some years ago, I gather. But Rotary have been involved in working with the Millennium Reserve Committee for quite some years. We've invariably had a Rotary member who's been the chairperson of that committee, and we participate in working bees, planting and clearing away grass around trees and generally keeping it tidy. But that's an ongoing job.
Yes, yeah.
It's but people should spend a bit of time wandering through
it's very nice,
through the paths there. It's nice.
And also, of course, both of you gentlemen are in the Rotary Singers, aren't you? And we've sort of...
I've missed out this
I
year.
know you've missed out this year. You're not allowed to do it if you're involved in being inducted, so you don't know what we're singing. So we won't let on, will we, Robert? We'll just keep it very quiet.
Absolutely.
We live in fear and trembling.
Yeah. But we have we've done a lot of gigs, haven't we, over the years with the Rotary Singers? Yeah.
Yes, we have, and I think it's one of the revelations is how you feel after an evening of singing. It's always been uplifting for me, and I think there's some medical evidence that the endorphins get moved when you're singing.
I think, Marilyn, the fun we have at Changeover is very largely due to people like yourself, Christine Brewster, and others that have really made a serious effort to have a fun night, and you go to a lot of trouble. And the members absolutely love it, actually. It's just a lot of fun.
Yes, I think it's a change from some of the other rather stuffy and boring changeovers that I believe are around. We're not allowed to say that, are we? But yes, I believe so. Yeah. So, John, where do you see Rotary? I mean, it's been 100 years in New Zealand, and in fact Wellington are very pleased by the fact that they were the first club 1 week before Auckland, and we've just celebrated 100 years of Rotary. So it's a long time. Do you think it's still relevant?
Oh, absolutely, it is relevant, but it's not something that we can sleep on. We've got to be prepared to change with the times. And if we're going to be around in another 100 years, we've got to look at the environment and the community we're serving at the moment, and make sure that we are relevant in that community.
How do you do that?
Well, I think firstly, having members who are prepared to get out and continue to do things in the community, and hopefully younger members, not necessarily in their 30s and 40s, but I don't know what our average age is now, but it always tends to creep up, and
80?
No.
But younger members really are defined, I think, by their ability and time to do things, get involved, and that primarily comes from when adults have their families. And as you know, families are being born and grown up later now than what they were 30 years ago. So the younger person of today who comes into the category of wanting to and having time to do stuff for the community, 50, a minimum of 50, and certainly in the 50 to 60 age group.
I think that's true too.
That's a younger person.
Yes.
But it doesn't mean to say that when you get past 60, you're not capable of doing things, because people are very capable well into their years.
Yes, I think that's right.
There have been around the district. There have been cases where some clubs have been able to establish what we call satellite clubs, and the members of those clubs are predominantly project orientated, and they don't necessarily have to come to meetings every week and do the stuffy stuff. So that's one of my thoughts this year, is we'll scope around and see whether we do have people who might like to join a satellite club, but there are other membership structures that we could introduce as well, like corporate membership. And
so that would involve a corporation or a business, but just being involved in some project, or how would that work?
Well, I think we need to do a bit more work on this, but I think if, say, a firm or a school or somebody like that wanted to pay an annual sub, then they could send along any of their employees, if they were interested, and perhaps alternate from week to week or month to month, and so that the firm would be involved, and if there's projects on, then they can nominate people.
Has this been done anywhere?
Yeah, it has been done. In Marston South so far we've basically stuck to a regular membership, but these are the sort of things that we can look at. And I think there's some clubs have even made a success of what they call e-clubs, which are young people who basically only meet online.
Yes, yeah.
And then if there's a particular project on, say like food bank, then we can put a call out through their platform and say, like, anybody like to come and help us under our banner.
I think, I actually think the corporation one is quite good, or corporate one, because with the E one, it's hard to follow what's going on, whereas if you've got a corporate group and you know that there is someone from that, I mean, you can welcome them and things.
Yes.
But the e-groups can possibly just be doing their own thing, and you're not quite up with it.
Yeah, it's probably a little bit more difficult to keep track of what they're doing, but perhaps they might be a bit more orientated towards particular projects that they'd work in with us. And perhaps a good example of that might be when we get our Wairarapa RV experience show on the road, which was going to be November this year, but unfortunately we've run out of time, so we've postponed it to November 22. But there'll be opportunities there for numbers of people to help with various parts of that job on a voluntary basis.
It's true. Yeah.
So we can involve.
And of course we'll be hearing quite a bit more about that in the next few months, once it sort of gets up and running and everything. No,
we will.
That's really
finding ways to how to get people involved is the challenge, as I see it, Marilyn.
Yes.
And there's satellite groups. They would very quickly get bored with it if they don't become integrated and involved per se. I think. So that will be the challenge, to keep them stimulated.
Yes, I think that's true, because in a way people say, do you go to Rotary every week? But to me that sort of is that continuity and that networking that it's not a burden.
No.
And if you can't get there, I mean, I think back to when my dad was in Rotary, and if he missed one Rotary meeting, he had to make up. There was this make-up thing that he had to do, and he had to go to another club to make up his. And I mean, that doesn't happen anymore.
No.
And but I do feel that continuity of regular one, every week is good.
It's a fellowship thing.
It is. Yes.
And that is what makes a club a good club.
Yes.
Is good fellowship.
Yeah.
There's no question about that.
Yeah, and I think that's true. I mean, of any sort of clubs, if you've got a theatrical club or something like that, and you're all involved in a show, but then if there's nothing then after the show, you sort of drift away a little bit, until the next one. So I think the Rotary idea of weekly meetings and weekly get-togethers is the thing that actually sustains it.
Marilyn, one of the things that has been stamped on me is that I've never heard anybody criticise anyone for what they do or what they don't do. Some do very little, as in contributing, but you never hear anybody criticise anyone. People often will pat you on the back when you do something, and you sort of think like, well, did I really deserve that? But you don't hear people criticise one another, and I think that's one of the really nice things about the Rotary organisation.
Yes, I think so too, yes, and it's very much... it's very convivial, isn't it? And I mean, you don't have to sit in the same place every week, and you can move around and change around. And I think that's something that I found, particularly after being involved with, a large staff when I was teaching, and suddenly you're one person, and now you've got a new network of people that are from all walks of life, which is good.
That is one of the real benefits of Rotary as a member, is to be able to meet all this whole range of other people. And I think one thing we do, and Robert's alluded to it too, is we've got to be careful that we don't sort of stick with the same people all the time. And one of the things, if I'm going to make any minor changes, that every now and again we might have a little draw, and you draw a number out, and that's the table you go to. And you don't select your own table, and so you're having a meal with 3 other different people who you might not have sat with for a while.
So do you have other things that you're thinking of? Are we going to have speakers,
Yes.
Or have you got any other ideas?
The speakers is an important part of Rotary, and it's another reason to be able to come to a weekly meeting, because getting speakers is very important. It's not an easy job. So Jeremy Hodson is going to head up a bit of a committee this year, and they'll be looking to tap people on the shoulder and say, would you be good enough to come along and speak to our Rotary Club? And it's quite amazing what interest some of these presentations can be extremely interesting. And also some of the young people we've helped in the community, that we get them to come along and speak to us, and it's good training for them as well, and it's inspiring for us too to see these really capable young people. So that's a couple of things I'm looking to do this year.
Anything else on your list?
Well, I think as I said before, we've got to continue to make sure that we're relevant, and that means being out there looking for people who might be interested in joining our club, and not just those who are coming up to retirement and got time on their hands necessarily. So we have some ideas of people, and if they're interested, we invite them along for a meal and introduce them to some of our other members and try and bring them on board.
And we have had a few new members this year, haven't we?
We have.
Yes.
Yeah, we've had some good new members, and they're contributing in their own way.
I think it's quite exciting, John. I see a really vibrant group of young people getting involved, and I'm quite excited to see that personally.
Yes, it is
a couple
good.
of young. I suppose it's okay to name them, but Paul Greville has just joined us recently, and people might know him from the library.
Yes.
He's very much involved there, but I'm not sure.
Very useful with the IT as well, and he's doing the bulletin.
Man, yes. So he's running our bulletin, and Amanda Gaskin is another younger person. She's been on the committee of our Wairarapa RV experience, and doing a very capable job there too. So, and it'd be nice to be able to introduce some other people who can fit that demographic.
Yeah. Oh no, I think it's all looking very good for the upcoming year.
Hope so.
So all the best for it. So we'll just take a bit of a break now, and then we're going to talk to Robert about his prestigious award, and he's going to tell us all about that and some things, and why he's got it. So we'll just take a little break and have a bit of music while we do that.
So Lord, well, I'm tired and so weary, but I must go along till the Lord comes and calls me away. Oh yes, and the morning's so bright, and the Lamb is the light, and the night is as black as the sea. Oh yes, and there'll be peace in the valley for me someday. Peace in the valley for me. Dear Lord, I pray there'll be no sadness, no sorrow, no trouble I see. There'll be peace in the valley for me. The bear will be gentle, and the wolf will be tame, and the lion shall lay down with the lamb, oh yes, and the beast from the wild will be led by a little child, and I will be changed from this creature that I am, thank God, and there'll be peace in the valley for me someday. Peace in the valley for me. Dear Lord, I pray there'll be no sadness, no sorrow, no trouble I see. There'll be peace in the valley for some sweet day.
Oh yes, definitely the one and only Johnny Cash and Peace in the Valley, Peace in the Wairarapa Valley. Right, well, welcome back to Radio Matters. No, it's not. It's Rotary Matters, isn't it? My word. Rotary Matters on the radio and on TV. And now Robert Young, who, as I said, has been awarded the prestigious Paul Harris Fellowship Award. Now, do you know who Paul Harris was?
Well, yes, he was one of the founders of Rotary, an American gentleman, I believe, and he was one of the original founders, is my understanding, and the award has been going for a very long time, and internationally, it's recognised internationally, and so every now and again people get surprised like I was and get awarded one of these. It takes you by surprise, I can tell you that, but when it has sunk in, you sort of think, whoa, well that's rather nice, and it's very much appreciated.
Yeah, no, it was lovely actually, because last week when you were awarded, you had no idea. And just to fill people in on what happens, your, like your wife, your spouse or whatever and family are invited, but you don't know. And in fact, we had a large crowd there, didn't we, John? Because there were 3 awards last week. Paul Harris's, there was yours, there was Paul Greenlee's and Norma McFadgen. So it was lovely to have that, and of course Freya was getting her award for the rider. But yes, and it was very interesting to hear your life history, Robert. I didn't know you were such a top sportsman. All these things you were doing.
That was a little bit out of proportion.
Oh, I don't know. A tennis player and rugby player. Where did you play in rugby?
Well, I played for Masterton.
Yeah, but what position?
First 5'8".
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
Alongside your brother-in-law?
Yes, I wouldn't be big enough for today's game.
No, you wouldn't be. No, not quite as big as Brian. No. Sir Brian. No.
Sir Brian, yeah.
Yeah. So, and your tennis career too was pretty...
Oh, well, that was played up a bit larger than it should have been. I did have 2 or 3 representations for Wairarapa, but No, that was sort of played up far larger than it should have been.
Oh, I don't know.
No,
Because
He's being modest.
yes, I think that's quite true. Yes, yeah. Oh, well done.
Yeah.
Excellent. But anyway, apart from all of those things that you were doing things for Rotary, and the most important one was something. Was it 16 years that you have been organising the intermediate reading program?
Yes,
Is that right?
The year it was put on the drawing board was 2004, but we didn't commence till the autumn of 2005. So we're in our 17th year, I think, Marilyn.
Really? That's
Yes.
amazing. And where did the idea come from? Was it yours or somebody else's?
I was on the committee at the time, and there was a lady whose name just escapes me at the minute. She had Solway Winery. She and her partner were owners of the Solway vineyard and winery.
Mio.
Sorry,
Mio.
was it?
I suspect it might have been.
Oh, it could have been,
Brendan
yes.
Mears,
Yeah.
No, it wasn't actually, John.
Oh, sorry.
But anyhow, it was her idea, and but then we just got it started, and she left town. Well, she and her husband sold and moved away. So Dinah Keats and I actually took it over and we've kept it going since then.
And it's specifically at intermediate,
Yes,
is it? At the intermediate school in...
Yes, we chose the Masterton Intermediate
Yeah.
School. I'm not sure why, but I think it is really important as being at an intermediate school, because the way I see it is that children that are a bit behind with their reading, it's their last chance before they go to secondary school and then of course leave school. So getting to secondary school and not being able to read, like we have a plaque down there that we presented to the school that says learning to read is learning to understand, because when you think about it, if you can't understand, you're behind the eight ball for the rest of your life. So learning the 3 R's as they were, 2 of them are probably not that vital today, but the reading bit is always going to be vital.
Yes. It doesn't matter what subject it is. You've got to be able to read what you're doing.
And it doesn't matter where society goes and how technical it becomes. You've got to be able to read, and I'm absolutely passionate about getting these children on the road.
So how does it work? Logistically, what do you do?
Well, we have a frontline team and then a backup team, Marilyn, and the frontline team chooses an hour's time slot is of 9:15 to 10:15 or 11 to 12. And they nominate a day that they want to participate, and then we set up a program with the school. Like I put the program, I put the people in front of the school, and the school puts the pupils along the tutors.
Oh, I see.
With the tutors.
Yes,
Then once it's underway, and if any of the frontline people can't make their appointment, and there's 100 reasons why people miss their appointments, then all they've got to do is notify me, and I go to my backup team and find somebody who can stand in for them. And it's a system that has stood the test of time, and with the refinements each year that I make, it becomes a little more robust. At the end of the day, if I can't find anybody, it's only happened about twice, then I just ring the school and say, look, whoops, sorry, but so-and-so won't be there this morning.
And so how many times a week does this happen?
Well, it's any of the 5 days of the week, so it is functioning Monday to Friday.
Oh, I see. So so it doesn't have to be a specific day that people go in?
No. Most days is, say, 2 or 3, probably 2 at 9:15 slot, and 2 or perhaps 3 at the 11 p.m. slot.
Mm. So that's about 25 hours of, if that's, 5 a day, 3 a day. No.
Well, we've got about 15 of us on the front line, and each tutor will have 2 pupils. So each year we're probably looking at helping about 30 students each year. So over 17 years, multiply that by 30, and the numbers are going up, aren't they?
Word, yeah.
Yes.
And do you do this all through the year or just certain terms?
Terms 1, 2 and 3. Well, it doesn't normally start until about 3 weeks into the first term,
yes.
when the pupils have been identified with their reading problem. But it's not only their reading problems, Marilyn. A lot of students that come to us have family problems, and they have their social skills are limited, and the one-on-one aspect of the tutors with the students over a period of time becomes more and more valuable, and at the end of the third term, when it finishes, the pupils have really found a great friend,
yes,
a surrogate grandparent, so to speak. So, and that is the aspect that makes it successful, in my view.
Yeah. So each of those pupils would have 1 day a week with their tutor.
Yes, 1 day a week.
1 day a week.
Yes.
Yeah. Or 1 hour a week.
One time slot.
Yeah, yes. Yeah.
Yes.
And where do you get the material from for the reading?
Well, the school provides reading material. Some of it is pretty average, to be honest. But some of our tutors, and I'll name Russell Carthew.
Oh yeah, he would have his hands on with books, wouldn't he?
He's got a heap of books that he knows what children like, and he'll take books himself along, and if the ones that his pupils are not really appropriate in his opinion, he'll take a selection of wee books, and that is the sort of thing that makes the program work very well.
Yes, yeah. And do you have the pupils the next year, or is it just for the 1 year? Would you have a repeat with any pupils?
I don't think a pupil that comes back for their second year, if they do come back, and we don't know if this happens, we're just told who the pupils will be. They'll probably have a different tutor for that second year.
Yes, yes. And over, nearly 17 years, is there a difference in the pupils? I mean, have you noticed many changes in what what the pupils are that are coming?
No, the pupils that come to the program are from a wide range of backgrounds, and there's no one part of society that's more represented than another. I mean, there's pupils that come from very good homes who simply have difficulty reading, and they just need extra help, and so. No, it really is a big variety, and there always has been a big variety that comes before us.
Well, it's interesting, and I suppose you sort of feel a real reward at the end of your 3 terms that you've actually managed to get someone to read.
I think for those that are on the front line, they get a real buzz out of what they achieve after 3 terms, and I think that is the one attraction of being a frontline person rather than a backup person.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And have there been challenges?
Oh, there's always little
challenges.
There's
Yeah.
always little challenges, Marilyn. Yes, yes. But I encourage the feedback to come back to me immediately, if not sooner, and I can then take it to the school and say this or that is happening or not happening, and it's over to them to deal with it, and they do.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's about getting the information back quick enough so that nothing festers and becomes a real issue.
Yeah. Oh, I think it's wonderful. Have you, John? Have you been doing it at
I
all?
had a stint a few years ago, and I was just thinking then, one of the most important things, as Robert alluded to, was the fact that you're a stable influence each week, and you never arrive there and rip straight into a book. You'd always go and get into conversation with the kids and find out what's happening in their week and how things are going at home, and it's quite amazing actually. After a while, when they know and trust you, they'll level with you and talk about things that are worrying them, and
I open up with some funny wee things from time to time, John.
Yeah, they do. But I mean, I think some of these kids probably their parents are very busy and so on, and they probably don't have the opportunity just to sit down with an adult and just shoot the breeze.
Yes. Yeah.
Have somebody listen to them.
Because I know I've heard of some of the your regulars who have sort of talked about their reading pupils with great affection, and they really have made a mark on them. Yeah.
It's lovely to see their progress through the year, and you can determine that, can't you?
Oh, absolutely. You can. Yes. But I think the tutors the pupils find them a non-threatening, non-judgmental, all of those things, and so there's a trust built up, of which is really so important for them, the pupils. One of the things that I have developed in my organisation is making sure that if it's a lady who can't make her appointment, my replacement for her on that day will be a lady that is a look-alike, or or something.
Someone is similar.
The same type of personality.
Yes.
Yes. That sort of thing.
Now, is this a program that is taken on by other Rotary clubs, or is it specifically Marston South? Have you heard of it being done anywhere else?
I haven't. I've spoken with quite a few members of other clubs, and no, I haven't heard of it, to be honest. It surprises me.
It's amazing, isn't it, really? Yeah. So that's another plus for Marston South that we'll be carrying on with. Yeah, another one of the programs. And I think also that a lot of people don't even know about these things that are happening, in the community.
Well, I think our club makes a big contribution in this world. I mean, for example, the Books for Babies program, of which every baby born in the Masterton
well, it's the Wairarapa too, I think, now, is it?
And larger area gets a book. Well, Russell was just telling me that he's got 700 books to be presented in this coming year. 700, and then
lots of babies.
Yes, and then of course is the year 6, I think it is, students. They all get a
the year 4s? Yes, the dictionary.
They all get a little picture dictionary, a picture dictionary.
That's right.
And it's a very attractive.
Yes, I know. I've seen them. They're really fun dictionaries. Yes.
So those are two major aspects of our club's contribution, I feel. Yeah.
No, that is amazing. So that's sort of three really. So you've got the books for babies, and then they get onto dictionaries, and then by the time they get to intermediate, they're being helped with the reading.
I've presented dictionaries to a couple of schools, Morrisville Primary School and Opaki, for several years, and the kids really look forward to getting those dictionaries, and we line them up and get them to write their names.
Yeah, that's right, and they get a special thing.
Yeah.
And it's an opportunity for us to sort of expose them to Rotary and the sort of things that we do in the community. And so, no, it's very positive.
And I still think a dictionary in a book is always better than having to go on the internet or Googling something to find out something.
Well, it is, isn't it? And I know this is an aspect of modern society that is happening that us older people probably don't quite understand, but nevertheless, the tactile aspect of having a book will never go away.
That's right.
I think the key thing it's doing, though, is teaching kids to research. If they've got a question in their mind, to go and start to research. And
yes,
they're learning initially in a book, but they need to develop those skills, and ultimately they might go on to Google and so on. But they need to develop.
You can't really beat the book.
First.
No. And in fact, Rotary's just produced a book, hasn't it, on the 100 years, Mana Tangata? Yeah.
Mana Tangata, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a book that was or has been written by a fellow by the name of Stephen Clark, and he's gone right back to June 1921 when Rotary was established in Wellington Club, and it just highlighted some of the things that Rotary's been involved in over the years, things like Kids Can and.
Yes, it's been involved, and there was just some aspect here that that they were talking about that. Goodness, these lights in the studio not as good to read by, but it was at the launch, and Gillian Jones was talking about how the book sort of emphasised the fact of what Rotary is all about as a service internationally, and also just nationally, and how much we are involved internationally, particularly in the Pacific area. Yeah.
That's right. Yes, yeah. It's a very authoritative book, and I suppose in lots of ways it reflects on the way society's changed, because one interesting aspect I noticed was that they highlighted the fact that women were only allowed into Rotary in 1989.
Yes, I know.
Which seems
really strange, yeah. Yes.
Some of the early photos of these stuffy old fellows back in the 20s and 30s.
Yes.
But thankfully we've moved on and
become more diverse.
Absolutely.
As the saying is.
Absolutely vital.
Right, well, I think we're almost coming to the end of our session, and thank you, John, and we're looking forward to an exciting year with you as president and all the different things that we'll be carrying on, the usuals, but also lots of new things that I'm sure you'll come up with as we go through the year, right through from June 21 right through to June 22.
Correct.
And Robert, that's wonderful, and congratulations on your Paul Harris, you and Paul Greenleys and Norma McFadden and Freya, who's now a platinum member, which is absolutely amazing. And wonderful that you can continue on with this reading program, which I think is just something out of the box. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it, Marilyn. I think it's so worthwhile. And there's an old saying that we're given one shot at life. It's not a dress rehearsal, so you've got to make the most of it, and that motivates me for myself, as well as trying to get these children on board with their lives.
That's right. That's so true. Right. Well, you've been listening and watching Rotary Matters, and this program is broadcast on the first Friday of each month, and it's repeated again on the first Saturday. So thanks to you both for your time, and looking forward to, as I said, a really good year of Rotary coming up. So I'm Marilyn Donna, and wishing you all a very good weekend, and keep safe and warm.